Another river, the Ohio, evolved a mystic all its own, gathering up the turmoil of the East and pointing it west and south directly to the Mississippi River and the heart of North America. The frontier's Fort Duquesne, renamed Fort Pitt, was a pivotal military and settler outpost at the head of the Ohio River and its tributary valleys south and west. Much of the western adventure that awaited the eastern establishment colonists had its origins here, at the Forks, a confluence of the Monongahela and Allegheny rivers. Gazing on the Ohio from here, George Washington and others affirmed this was, quote, the beautiful river. Even the Lewis and Clark expedition of 1804 in some ways would mark this place as a starting point for its corps of discovery. Co-leader Meriwether Lewis from here arranged initial supplies that were floated downriver and eventually to the rallying point of the expedition members in St. Louis.
As people, the Senecas viewed the present-day Allegheny and Ohio rivers as one great stream, which they called the Ohio. Early in the 18th century, some Senecas migrated down the river, settling in what is now southwestern Pennsylvania. Joined by other Iroquois peoples, including the remnants of the Conestoga tribe, they were frequently referred to by the British authorities as Mingo, a variation of an old Algonquin word for Iroquoian speakers.
The Ohio Valley's prehistory apparently has its secrets, now partially uncovered. Wild beasts and modest-sized Indian civilization left clues of their claims to the territory. Earthen mounds containing burial items and sacred symbols are scattered among the hills and riverbanks. The first official American settlement, founded on the Ohio River in 1788, at Marietta inherited a sacred mound there that today shares land with the town's own founding citizens. The mounds at nearby Moundsville are uniquely prominent totems to the native conversation with the afterlife that for many woodland tribes has always been welcomed by their Mother Earth. The Ohio Valley represented the confluence not only of three rivers, but of three peoples: Indian, French-Canadian, and British. The Battle of the Monongahela, also famously called Braddock's Defeat, is a historical reference to a failed British military expedition that attempted to capture French Fort Duquesne in the summer of 1755 during the French and Indian War. It is an important event because it signified that the British Army was unprepared to fight in the frontier of the colonies. It is also important to realize that colonial individuals who rose in stature on the frontier during and after the Revolutionary War, gained their battle experiences as members of the British forces during the earlier period of war, against mostly the French and their Indian allies. Tory General Edward Braddock mostly failed in his attempts to recruit Native Americans from those tribes not yet allied with the French. He had only about 8 Mingo Indian scouts on his side, while many native groups like the Delaware chose to stay neutral or leaned in favor of the French. Commander Braddock moved more than 1,000 men from Fort Cumberland, Maryland on May 29, 1755, across the densely wooded Allegheny Mountains into western Pennsylvania. Daniel Boone, Daniel Morgan, Ensign William Crawford, and even the future American president, George Washington, were counted among the approximately 1,400 men. By contrast, French and Indian forces waiting for them were estimated to number between only 300 and 900. Many of Braddock's men believed they had been ambushed, but reports suggested that the opposing French were just as surprised by a premature head-on encounter as the British. In any event, Braddock was fatally shot off his horse, and the redcoats began to flee. George Washington apparently formed a rear guard, allowing some orderly withdrawal. Thus he was hailed the hero of the Monongahela. I quote briefly from a letter from George Washington, sent in July 1755 to his mother.
We marched to that place without any considerable loss, having only now and then a straggler picked up by the French and scouting Indians. When we came here, we were attacked by a party of French and Indians, whose number, I am persuaded, did not exceed 300 men, while ours consisted of about 1,300 well-armed troops, chiefly regular soldiers, who were struck with such a panic that they behaved with more cowardice than it is possible to conceive. The officers behaved gallantly in order to encourage their men, for which they suffered greatly, there being near 60 killed and wounded, a large proportion of the number we had.
Fort Pitt did not endure as much turmoil during the ensuing Revolutionary War. A single alleged battle with Seneca Indians at Thompson Island in northwest Pennsylvania questionably occurred under the command of General Daniel Brodhead. George Washington had ordered his expedition to put an end to Indian raids in that frontier. However, no real record exists, and reports suggested the Indians he and his troop encountered comprised a hunting party and not a warring party. Some stuff was burned by his troops, though, to prove a point. In some ways, Pennsylvanians seemed to get along with the native populations on a friendlier basis than at other points along the frontier. William Penn and his Quakers, Moravians, and various idealistic, sometimes even utopian pilgrims filled Pennsylvania's early history with adventures of the religious kind. Many Indians converted in this part of the colonies, extending into Ohio. Even in the 19th century, places like Harmony, located 30 miles north of Pittsburgh on the Pennsylvania side of the Ohio River, kept a close-knit society tradition. Harmony was founded by a German pietist, Johann George Rapp and his Harmony Society in 1804. Their possession of this land and establishment of the economy lasted only 10 years, however. The Harmony property sold in 1814 to Abraham Ziegler, born in 1765, a Mennonite. Rapp and followers moved west to the Indiana Territory, where they built the town of Harmony on the Wabash River, now New Harmony, Indiana. Mennonite craftsmen built the stone wall around the Harmonite cemetery back in Harmony. That Mennonite community in Harmony lasted until 1904 to 1905, when Abraham's son, the pastor of the area, died in 1904.